So if somebody hitinu chaveira yichud mashkin, somebody put on top of you, let's say, example like a knapsack, food, and he went out. So the Gemara says that's also going out. That's also a kira. When you step out, you are being oiker yourself, your goof, with whatever you have with it, and then you're going into shusarabim, and you're stopping, and you're being maniach. That's called maniach your goof. That's a kira roitzo. So why in the Mishnah does it say that the ani is not chayiv when he pulls his hand in, he's oiker his hand, and he brings it in or brings it out. It's like he has it in his hand, so let his hand. So the answer is no. Your hand is not your body. The hand is not munach. It's naich. It's not naich. It's rather gufa naich. Yodo loy naich. Your hand is not in any set place. Your hand is in space, and therefore that's not called. He put it on his hand. Down he took it in his hand, and he takes it from the shusayachid to. That's not called a kira. You're missing that kira. That was what we learned yesterday. Okay. Now we're going on to Amud Beis. For Daf Gimel Amud Beis. And Reb Chia, the Rav. So Reb Chia was a little bit upset. This is more of a personal shakatari here. What the right way to learn is, and he says, Reb Chia, the Rav, Apachsi, you call him we call him by his name, by Pachsi, a little bit, to give him techacha lo aminacha. Did I tell you that if Rabbi's learning one Masechta, don't ask him questions in a different Masechta. Why? Don't love it either. Do you love the Rabbi? Now he happened to be in this case because Rabbi is a Gav Rabbah. He's somewhat of an exception to the rule. But normally, if your Rebbe is learning on Masechta, don't do that, because if it wouldn't be for that, Havi Kasafte, the Gav Rabbah, Kasaftia, you could have embarrassed him. The Mishayach Shinu, you love Shinu, he could have answered it wrong and would have been very embarrassing. Hashta Mia is Shopper Mishayach. Now it happened to be in this story. He answered correctly. How do I know he answered correctly? Because it says in Brayso, person is toyin. This is similar. It's not quite identical. It's not identical, but it's very similar. Is that he put on, let's say again, we'll use the knapsack, and he's in the shusayachid b'oidiyim, and now it becomes Shabbos, and now he's like tzion lachutz because it's not like Yada where he pulls it in and we say, no, you didn't do Akira. Here, Akira's Gufa is Akira as Rabbi said, and therefore he answers correctly. Okay. I'm going to buy it. Okay, again. So remember, let's always remember, just before we have to remember the Mishnah. It's K'nayda, by the way, right? You need to go over the Mishnah many times. It's something, it takes a long time. I think, even though you have Pshat and you got it, it takes a long time till the Mishnah becomes clear in the head. You always have to always go over that Mishnah. But anyways, what we're going to say here is as follows. So again, the Mishnah, remember the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, the Ani sticks his hand in the Shusay Yochid, and so if he doesn't do the Akira, if let's say the Balabayas does the Akira, let's say in the case, so where the Ani puts the Balabayas, or he takes it for the he does the Anocha does the Akira, then he's going to be Chayiv. Let's say in the Sefer, where the Balabayas takes it from him, or is not of the teicha. Let's say that, and then he pulls it out. So you remember, if someone else does the akira, so then you're not chayim. So here he stuck his hand in, but Bayis did akira, and then he pulled it out. He did anocha. So the Gemara says, now how do we view the ani standing, he's standing on the street, he's standing on a Rehov, let's say Rehov Ein-Ches, and he's sticking his hand into somebody's door. There's a door. So where do we view his hand? Is his hand connected to him? So maybe his hand is really in Rosh Hashanah. Says Abaye, no. Even if he's in Rosh Hashanah, his hand is not. It's not Rosh Hashanah. How do I know? I learn from the Mishnah. Let's learn the Mishnah. You see the ani. If the ani, we will consider halachically the hand of the ani to be connected to his body, to be halachically determine where his body is, so then it would be a Rosh Hashanah, the hand. And therefore, he would be potter in the case, in the second case. If the Balabais puts it, takes the chayfetz, and he sticks it in the hand of the ani, who's sticking his hand right now, Rosh Hashanah, but you say, but the hand is connected to his body, Rosh Hashanah, that would be a itzah. And it's not. So if a raya, it's pshitally, therefore, it's like the baye, that from the other to ani, that it's not kishus harabi. Kishus yachid, similarly, same concept. Why when the ani sticks it into the hand of the why when the in the case with the second case. The second case with the balabayis, poshet balabayis is yod lachutz, and the ani takes it from there. So what do you mean? If that's kishus hayachid, you're taking from kishus hayachid, you're your chayiv, being potter. So that's a raya. It doesn't work that way. The hand is when it goes into a different place, is considered disconnected from its source. What is the question? So how do we halachically view the hand? Okay? So the So we now enter into a third rishus. There's rishus hayachid and there's rishus harabim. That's all in the Torah. We're allowed to, those concepts are deraisa concepts. There's a house. There's a street, and going from Rosh Hashanah to Rabbim is Yitzhak, going from Rosh Hashanah is also. What about if it's not quite Rosh Hashanah? It doesn't meet. It's not inside. It doesn't. And by the way, Rosh Hashanah is more or less. Well, see, is more or less defined by it's got whatever amount of walls it is. Let's say ideally it's a house. It's got 4 walls. It's an enclosed area. And there's no flow of Rosh Hashanah there. That's called Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is not. It's open now. Rosh Hashanah has more criteria. It has to be people walking there. It has to be a street that goes so you could have spaces which are not enclosed, which are not really Rosh Hashanah, Rosh Hashanah. Now, really, they're like Makom Tour. They're not. They're nothing. But the Rabbanan came along, and they said, let's say Rehov. Okay, let's for argument's sake, let's say Rehov Ein-Ches Rosh Hashanah. But we have here a little side street, Black Panther Street, next to the yeshiva. So what's that? Is that Rosh Hashanah? I don't know. It's a little path. So we say, it's not Rosh Hashanah. That maybe we call the Carmelis. A lot of things are Carmelis. We're not. That is not the time to get into every example. But what about a carmel? Now, what about so the person's hand is in the Rosh Hashanah. The Baba sticks his hand in Rosh Hashanah. Do we call that a carmelis? And the nafkamina, the rule is, it's a simple nafkamina. The Allah says you can never go from a carmelis to Rosh Hashanah, just like you can't go from Rosh Hashanah. Not only that, you can't go from a carmelis to Rosh Hashanah either. Carmelis is its own rishus, which means the Rabbanan similarly is forbidden to transfer from Carmelis to Rosh Hashanah. Okay? So, that's the shaila. What about, if it's in the hand, is that called caramelis? Or maybe not. Maybe it's undefined space or something. Now, let's say this guy's doing a shtick. He's doing a shtick over here. He's taking his hand, he's in the Rosh Yeshiva, he's in his house, and it's on Shabbos, and he leaves Mamish and Rosh Hashanah. He lives on, what's it called in New York? Big street. What? Times Square. Well, yeah. Why would he live there? No. He lives on Ocean Parkway. I think it's a big street. It's a thorough street. I think a lot of places can hold that to maybe a Shusar Rabbin. Is that right? So, in other towns, you won't so easily find the Shusar Rabbin according to all opinions. So, you'll find it's a machlokes Rishonim. But let's say he lives on the street, and he sticks his hand out onto the street with something in his hand. So what are you doing? If you put it down, you'll be over Isha Deraisa. If you did it on purpose, you have skila. If you did it on Shaygeg, you have Churm Chatas. So what are you doing? So how does the halacha treat this person? So Toni Chada also Lachzirah. One cheat says, you know what? Okay, Shkoyach. You're frozen now for the rest of Shabbos. Don't move. All right? Toni Idoch. Okay, Mutar Lachzirah. Because we're afraid. You're going to say, you want this. You're going to stand like this for the rest of Shabbos. You're probably going to put it down at some point, and then you're going to be really in trouble because you'll be chayv kartas. So be an accident. So that's the shayla. Tani chada also nachzir tani ida mutu. So my love, that's the machlokes. Ma so the caramelis damye. If his hands are caramelis, it is therefore forbidden to bring your hand back in, because you cannot take from a caramelist to shusay yochid. Mar savar lav caramelist, and therefore it is permitted to bring it back in. It's zero. You're in space. You're holding something. It's just around, but really it's halachic space, undefined, it's a vacuum. Okay. So maybe that's cool for the machlokes. That's the shaila of Abaye, and this is the machlokes. No. So which the Gemara rejects. You have to pay attention. There's a few steps here. So, the Gemara rejects. It says, "Lo t'vuli avad karmelis dami." In fact, avad it's a karmelis. So why is it also then? Why is it mutar? Well, kasha kan lamata miyasara, kan lamala miyasara. It depends where. Be'etzem, if it's lamata miyasara, that's called karmelis. Whenever you go higher than your tvachim, when you go higher than about here, you're automatically in undefined halachic space also. That's makom p'tur. It was Rosh Rabbin, which is yochid, on the ground really. It's not up in the air. So if you're up in the air, so then you're allowed to bring your hand back in. That's undefined space, and that's a different story. That's also another alternative way of explaining the disagreement. Idi lamata miyasara. They're both lamata miyasara. V'lav ki karmel is damia. So why is it? It's not a karmelis. So what's the machlokes then? If it's not a karmelis, what in the world is the problem? So the Gemara lekasha kani ba'odiyim kani chashecha. Depends when he did this. If he did it before Shabbos, so you know what? You didn't really do anything so bad. So look into Rabbanan. You're allowed, technically speaking, you're allowed to stick your things out to be okeh them. Shabbos, there's no halacha against that. So we don't penalize you. Kan look into Rabbanan. Michashecha, but once it's already on Shabbos, you shouldn't be doing this. What are you doing? What kind of shtick are you doing? What are you playing with fire? There's this third eye here. So there, Kansur Rabbanan. So it's not that it's a karmelis. We're not saying that the reason why we penalize you is because we view it as a karmelis, but the reason why you can't take it's also against karmelis, but rather it's specific penalty the Chazal placed on this person for doing what he did. Michashecha Katsur Rabbanim. Frek the Gemara, what do you mean? That's how you can explain Machlek. That defies logic. It's against Rabbi Boydioim. So the Shari Lei Losi Dichiv Chatas. If any, I can look at it differently. You did this before Shabbos, so you did nothing wrong. So you'll say to him, you know what? Freeze all Shabbos. How's he going to do that? He might drop it. Okay, he'll drop it. We still taught him his lesson. And if he drops it, nothing happens. Lik this here bonnet. But if a guy did it on Shabbos, and if he puts it down, he drops it, he's going to be chayiv chatas. So Rabbana would have rachmanis on the guy. Lo likdasu Rabbana. So therefore, what you're saying is, so this last explanation that it makes a difference as to whether or not it's an issue of knas, and it depends whether or not the first half what he did was chil Shabbos, midrabanan, potential for deraisa. So that is again the fact that you didn't say that. So you didn't say that. The fact that makes no sense to say that because you did it on Shabbos, so we're going to make it more chum. That's a little bit hard to believe that Rabbanan would do that because they're putting a person in a position where he might do more chil Shabbos. Again, he stuck his hand on Shabbos. He wants to say, freeze it. Hey, what do you want? The guy could end up doing chil Shabbos. Okay, so that was a shakvitarya in whether that last answer of Knas holds up. Now we're going to make an inference from this to a different question. So pay attention here. Now we look at Mashin Hochi. Now the Gemara didn't answer that. The Gemara did answer that. Oh, it's the opposite. It's because he did it on Shabbos. We should be more lenient to protect you from being off the Shabbos. Why didn't you answer that? If that proves something. Now listen to what Rabbi contemplated, and then we'll go back and how that proves it. Rabbi Babai, he had a shayla for Rabbi. I'm going to go to a different shayla, not who saw shayla. The boy Rabbi Babai, but it was the concept we'll see in a second is similar. He'd be pas betanur. Now, right? If you put bread in the oven, there's two issues going on now. When you put bread in the oven on Shabbos, right? So now, if you leave it in on Shabbos, you're over the Siduraisa. It's cooking on Shabbos. It's baking on Shabbos. So now on the other hand, so what's your other option? Take it out. Don't let it bake. Right? Here the Easter is when it gets baked, not when it's just in the oven. It has to get baked. So you can rectify. You can kind of save yourself. Now the problem is, Chazal forbid a person to extract because the bread in the oven isn't like today. We just gotta stick it down. Yeah? There was a whole chachma where they stuck it in the oven, and therefore that is forbidden midrabanan to do that. To put it in and take it out, it's forbidden on Shabbos. Also midrabanan. So you're stuck. If you leave it in, you'll be over a chiv chatas. If you take it out, you'll be over a midrabanan. What do you do? So maybe Chazal would take that into consideration, which is very similar to our case. Will they take into consideration that you shouldn't leave your hand outside and drop it? Be over. So tifshit. So since we say that we don't care if he did it on Shabbos, we'd make him stick his hand out. We're not worried about being over the Shabbos. So that'll be right here. Also, we wouldn't worry. So let's be tifshit leitiro. So the Gemara says no, not necessarily. So what's kasha? Yeah, says you're right. Sorry, you're right. Kasha, you're right. It's not kasha. Tifshit, yeah. That's what you see. That's from our Gemara. That's the attitude you see. The Chazal had to stick to their guns. They have to say if it's us, it's us. You always say, okay, let's go back again. Remember, now we're jumping back to the two shitas in the brisa. When a person sticks his hand out with the what's halacha? Mutar asur. Yes. Why? Lo yom lo tifshit v'lo kasha. Don't be poishit. Our shayla here, because it's a whole different discussion. Kan b'shoigeg, kan b'mezid. So why again? He stuck his hand out, which is a rabbin. So it depends. If it's b'shoigeg, so lo kotzu rabbanan. So then we let him take his hand back in. B'mezid kotzu rabbanan. But if he did it intentionally, then we were more strict with him, and in that case, it's asur. But in the case of shoygeg, it will make sense like we would think in Rav Bibi that we would not force him to hold out his hand and be over the isur, or by the pas. So too over here, if he did it b'shoygeg, we wouldn't make him be over this. Iboy say me idi b'shoygeg. It is b'shoygeg. So you see that we have a tzad to say that even though he did it b'shoygeg, we answer it, and you have to stick your hand out. And here there's a general machlekes. Whenever a person does something b'shoygeg that we would have been lenient for, okay, he did it by accident, let him take his hand back in, but he did it by purpose, not. We say kantu shogeg tumezid. If we allow you to do this, you might come to do it b'mezid, and you become misa. Therefore, we don't allow you. We force you to keep your hand out. Okay. Another again, we're trying to explain why is there machlekes when you stick your hand out? Can you bring it back? A third machlekes is if you're just bringing it back, yes. Then it's mutter. The price that said is aser kan l'chatzer acheres. That's the one l'chatzer acheres.